Lions fans, man, we are back. Another live stream. It's been a while since we've done a live stream, but today, to make it faster, I just decided to go live because I need to get this news out because I need to take off. But training camp day 7 is complete, and it was a lot of fun today, man. Now unfortunately, you sit on the good side with the bleachers, but they practice on the other side. That's how it goes. But if you're at the top, you can still see it, and that's what was the case today. So good day of practice across the board, a lot of notes to go through, and a couple of guys that we haven't given much attention to that today will get some attention. We'll get some spotlight, and I'm excited about that. Now, before we get too far into this, hey, first off, do I sound okay? Let's make sure we sound good. Let's make sure the audio's right here. I haven't gotten to check it before we jumped on live. I just jumped on as soon as I got the graphics and all that stuff finished up. So give me a 1 if we sound good. There's no echo. Let's just make sure there's no echo. There shouldn't be an echo. That should be okay. But everything else, let's just make sure we sound good. And on the bottom of the screen, that list is the order we're going to go in, starting from this side and working over. That's the order of the notes that I have. I didn't get results from every single rep. They were going really fast, like say through the one-on-one tackling drill. Wide receiver DB, there was some, like movement. So sometimes I didn't get all the reps that happened. But I did get a lot of them. And again, some of these could be a little off for the most part. Like there could be a couple that are like, oh, that's the wrong player. But I think for the most part, we're in a pretty good spot today. Okay, we sound good. Well, let's jump right into it then. Okay, and we're going to start all the way on the right. So if you're watching this back, shout out to you for joining. I see you. We're going to try to keep this to video length, and I'm going to try to work through this pretty quickly. But I will answer questions in the chat or whatever y'all are thinking or whatever y'all are feeling, if you guys got something good. Now, before we do get into it, though, and I haven't looked at, like, the actual injury reports, I did notice I didn't see DJ Reed on the field. At least I didn't notice him through one-on-ones. Didn't really notice him in team drills. So I don't think he was participating, at least not much. Rakestraw, it looked like at one point he got banged up. That wasn't good. But he ended up getting back out there, like, once they got into the next drill. So at one point, I was like, oh, man, he's hurt again. That's unfortunate. He kind of landed a little bit awkwardly. And then for Terron Arnold, at one point stepping in to kind of play the run, he came up a little bit gimpy. But, again, I think he was fine, too. He continued to participate, I believe, after that. Coming into it, though, no Kirby Joseph once again. So we didn't see Kirby. And I think that's the main news there. We did sign a new cornerback because we ended up moving off of Stanley Thomas Oliver, who I believe was out there practicing today. As long as I got my notes right, he was practicing today, and he actually made a lot of impact plays. Like, he was all over the place. So we'll definitely mention him as we go through this. But, oh, and Noah Meek Robertson. Alex Anzalone was participating, though. Alex was out there, and it was cool to see him out there. He's participating seemingly in everything. He seemed like a full participant. I don't know how many notes I actually have on him, but he seemed like a full participant. So with that, let's get right into it. We'll start off with that first drill, and that's the one-on-one tackling drill. So you guys know how this is. It's probably about 10 yards wide, one-on-one. I don't think they were going angle tackling. I think they were just straight-up tackling here, and you try to make a miss in a small space. And Sam Laporta continued to be dominant, which is mind-blowing, but he did. Dave Montgomery looked awesome here once again. So a lot of good news for those guys, consistency there. Let's jump right into it, though, because a lot of these times these guys are working against the same people. So sometimes I couldn't pick up on who was both sides, but I was able to gain one side, and then I saw the next time who they went against, so we can kind of just assume it was the same player for the most part. First off, I had Terrion with a miss. Then I had, and let's get to this guy, because this guy needs some attention, Tyson Russell. Tyson Russell was like all over the place. In coverage, he was impactful in run support. This is the most that I noticed him. I wrote his number down a ton. I didn't know his number off the top of my head, so I just kept writing down, I believe it was 35. Going back through, I'm like, man, Tyson Russell was all over the place. Tyson Russell was super impactful today. So he ended up getting the first main stop I want to note here. Alex Anzalone had a stop one-on-one. Also, we had Ronnie Bell, who made a nice move, kind of shook his defender, ended up getting a win there. Sam Laporta put on a spin on Brian Branch. That's a tough matchup for Sam Laporta, I would have thought. Like, if you told me, like, hey, pick one of them, who do you think is going to be more successful in this as we go through? And at least through the days that I've seen now and what we've heard before we see these, it's been Sam Laporta all the time. And he started off with a nasty spin move, came back with a juke move for Brian Branch, beat him cleanly both times. Brian Branch is a fantastic tackler. And I don't really feel concerned about Brian Branch. It's more so just that Sam Laporta looks awesome with the ball in his hands. I don't know if he changed anything, or maybe just some of that Iowa creativity is starting to really shine, and at least it shines in this drill. Eric Hallett was also impactful against run. He had a stop on Isaac Tesla. He gets noticed to me a lot in the box. He's a very noticed noticeable piece when he's near the line of scrimmage from the first 2 days that I've been there. Now, the thing with Eric Hallett will be, what does it look like in preseason? How physical is he in those spots? But ultimately, to this point, he's been very good in run support so far. Craig Reynolds ended up getting the corner. Dan Jackson had a great tackle on Craig Reynolds. There was a couple in here that really shine. We're about to get to those here in a second. Not St. Brown. I'm sorry. That's not St. Brown. Let's move on from that one because some of these I don't exactly know who they were. Monty, again, made Jack Campbell miss twice. Clean reps there. Campbell, both times, looked like he was just flying by the ball carrier. Like, it looked awkward because Jack Campbell's a very good sound tackler, really balanced, really controlled. Monty was making that look easy. It was one move and he was off to the races. It was very straightforward. It wasn't there wasn't too much going on there with Monty. He was just super smooth, super efficient. Zach Cunningham ended up bringing down Brock Wright really late, so it was kind of a battle between those two there. And Zach Cunningham's a pretty good tackler as well. Grant Stewart had a stop. He also blew up a toss play today. We'll talk about that here when we get to the 11-on-11s. Rock Ya-Sin, though, let's start there. So Rock Ya-Sin and Tyson Russell, two guys that were super impactful today. Rock Ya-Sin is getting – both these guys are getting legitimate reps because of how many cornerbacks are just not out there. Again, we had Tyrion. We had Rakestraw. Outside of that, it was kind of just the depth, right? There was just a lot of moving pieces in the back end. So those two guys got a lot of opportunities. Rock Ya-Sin, I thought, made the most of it. This was definitely the most that – first off, I haven't heard much about Rock Ya-Sin up to this point. So to see him in person and see how much work that he did, not to say it was perfect across the board. He got beat a couple times, but, man, that dude – He looked like a starter, like a couple, and I'm not saying he was Carlton, but like a couple of times, like it made me think I was watching Carlton Davis. I was like, oh, who is that? They kept throwing me off because I was like, that's not Carlton Davis. It's Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin was doing some good work like that. Trevor Nowaski had a good tackle. That's expected, I would say. Zeke Turner had a late stop. I think it was on Kai Robichaud. Terrion Arnold had a low tackle. Boodle had a stop on Lovett. That was kind of ugly watching that. I thought something was going to be really nifty there. It didn't seem that nifty from Lovett. He was stopped pretty well there by Boodle. Boodle's getting a lot of looks too. Tyson Russell, another great tackle. Avonte Maddox had a good play. Laporta again got the win on who was at now he's slipping my mind. On Brian Branch, once again, there was a juke move second time around. Craig Reynolds put a nasty spin on Dan Jackson. Dan Jackson got things started, had a good tackle, came back, and Craig put a nasty spin. So we saw Craig get to the corner. We saw him put a nasty spin on Dan Jackson. We also saw Stewart, who had kind of like a trip tackle in there. Monty with the juke move on Jack Campbell. Barnes had a really good stop as well, which is kind of expected. This is a fantastic tackle. He looks like the best tackler when you watch him. It's what he looks like when he's through there. There was a guy that ended up having like a massive like slam type of tackle. I just don't know who that was. Maybe I'll come up to it here soon. I just don't remember who that was. And then we had Zach Cunningham, who kind of like out of his hands didn't really finish on the rep. A couple more here though. We have a tough run from Isaac Tesla, Kenny Yeboah. Kenny Yeboah kind of just dragged this guy through. It's a tough run there. Isaac Tesla then slipped his defender, scored or won the rep, and then Trevor Nowaski got a stop on the last rep. And this was funny because he gets out there and it's Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold's energy is crazy. He's infectious. He was trying to take the ball. He got on the opposite side where like the ball carriers were the offensive players, and it looked like he was standing out there like he was going to take the last rep. They didn't let him do that. They put somebody else out there. I don't know who it was, but he would against Trevor Nowaski. Nowaski made the stop. So yeah, no update on Kirby. I didn't see him there, so I haven't really looked into anything, to be honest with you, because time reasons here, but I didn't see him there at all, and it's been Avonte Maddox holding that down from what I've noticed. All right, move over to the next drill. So we got a one-on-ones, wide receivers, DBs. This was a ton of fun. Terrion Arnold was probably the standout of this drill by a mile. Terrion was awesome in this one, and he's battling St. Brown. He's battling our best, truly there, and it got started with an awesome battle. It was St. Brown on Terrion. It was a great catch by St. Brown. It was well contested on the sideline. Again, these were red zone one-on-ones, and in this spot, they were arguing about did he have his feet in, did he not? I personally thought he did not have his feet in. He's pointing to the replay board like, look, Saint, you didn't get in there. They were arguing about it. I didn't think it was that close. I didn't think he got in. But I don't know. St. Brown's kind of nasty, so he may have done something real sneaky, and I just didn't notice it, and he did get his feet down. I don't think he did, though. I think Terrion won that first rep to get things started there. Rock Ya-Sin had a pass break up on Isaac Tesla running an in-breaker. And Rock Ya-Sin was good today. He was good, man. I like the 23 was throwing me off, but as practice went on, like I started writing Rock Ya-Sin instead of writing 23. He was that good today. Shout out to him for that. And this Rakestraw gave up like a slant, and that's the play that I thought that he got a little bit injured. Like he kind of came up slow, went to the goalpost, and then from there kind of saw the trainer for a second, and then ultimately he got back in once the next drill started, but he may have got back in this drill, but he ultimately ended up coming back, so hopefully nothing was too serious there. He may miss a practice or something, who knows. We have Tyson Russell, who was beat by Meeks. Meeks also had a really strong throwing, specifically in a lot of this red zone drills on kind of a underneath slant route. Brian Branch had a win on Khalif Raymond. he's very physical, and when you don't have officials, it's a little bit difficult because you'd like to know, like, are they going to throw a flag or something? But Brian Branch doesn't really grab. So as much as he's physical at the line, you can see it. And this was a matchup. We saw those two get out there. I'm like, you got to get hands on him. And it's so clean. He gets hands on him really clean. He doesn't even have to jam him off the ball. He just gets him through the transition, gets hands on him, sticks in his hips, and just rolls the route with him. It was really tight coverage, very physical coverage, but he never felt like he was grabbing at any point as he's working through that route. Okay, Whiteside. So if I'm wrong on this, but I believe Whiteside was practicing, the new cornerback that we just signed. I believe he was out there wearing 38. Maybe that was somebody else. But if that was him, Whiteside made a couple of plays. He ended up having a win on Taylor in the back of the end zone, kind of running an in-breaker there. Tim Patrick had an incomplete pass working a fade route to on Terran Arnold. Arnold contested it really well. It was just kind of thrown out of bounds, high, incomplete, which is crazy because Patrick's a big dude. You would think like, okay, throwing a high, that's his advantage. Terran's all over that. He was all over the first 2 reps, very contested on those first 2 reps. And he doesn't feel like he's like overly like he's physical, but he doesn't feel like he's like pulling on dudes and it's like, oh gosh, okay, obviously it doesn't feel like that when you're watching him. It just it feels like he's built for this. Like you put him in a red zone and he's a problem. Like he's got the skill set to deal with that. That's what it looks like. Ronnie Bell had a really good catch underneath. He didn't actually score. He was like 2 yards short of the goal line, but he had really strong hands, finished a really contested situation there, which is what's expected of Ronnie Bell. Let's be consistent with the hands. Brian Branch then had probably the PBU of the drill, though. Brian Branch was like face guarding St. Brown on the front pylon, and as the ball's thrown towards the sideline, Branch, I don't even know if he looked back for the ball. He just kind of like played Saint's eyes, sucked that right hand out, broke it down. The timing was incredible. I don't even think he saw the football. He broke the pass. So it was a beautiful cover because he wasn't like grabbing him. It was just he was face guarding him and he ends up knocking away. Tom Kennedy, an incomplete route, kind of ran like a little whip route underneath, which this guy just shows up in team drills. We'll get to it, but he just shows up. And no, there is no, I don't know on Vaki on his timeline. We may have mentioned it in the past, but I'll have to look back on that because I don't exactly remember. I think when last time I remember from Dan, it wasn't something that was like supposed to be into the regular season. It was just like a few weeks here that he'd be down at most. So I would hope after the first preseason game, at very least, we should start getting some positive updates on him. That'd be my guess. Then we had maybe the rep of the drill because this one, nothing happened. This was Rocky Sin lined up one-on-one against Dominic Lovett at the line of scrimmage, and he jammed him at the line. Route never happened. I mean, the guy stopped at 2 yards. Lovett went nowhere, and it just ended. And it was like, okay, that just didn't start. Shout out to Rocky Sin. He's a press cornerback. That's his skill set. And he shut the thing down right off the line of scrimmage there. So that was cool. We also had, I think it was, see, this is an interesting one. I think this was an interception by Whiteside. And I just don't know for sure because this is one I saw at the end. I saw him just running with the football. So I don't know exactly what happened there. But I believe, again, it was Whiteside. So Whiteside with a win, then an interception, the one interception of the drill. Meeks ended up having a contested grab. And then we had, and let me skip down because some of these were a little bit messy. Let me skip down a little bit here. Okay, let's get back to the ones that I know for sure. Ronnie Bell caught like an out route. That was on caught like a little bit of an out route. Jamison Williams ended up having a win on Rocky Sin, so this would be the one that Rocky Sin definitely lost towards the sideline. It was like a comeback type of route. And then Terrion ended up finishing it off with a pass breakup on Isaac Tesla. In this one, he ends up lining up against him, and we know Tesla's got to work at getting off the ball. And you can see him pressing up, and right before it happened, we were like, hey, he's got to be able to get off the line of scrimmage. And as soon as the rep started, he like ducked his head. It was ugly. He like ducked his head. He didn't really go anywhere off the line. He kind of just ran directly into Terrion. You could see that was just not it. I don't know if it's just a bad rep or just like he needs a lot of growth still there. We knew that was an area that needed growth. That was messy. Nothing ended up happening on that one. Kind of got upfield, but he didn't really separate at all. There was really no leverage there. And Terrion and Arnold ended up kind of finishing it off, yelling at the crowd, kind of just like telling them, like, y'all need to stop testing me. Basically that kind of thing. That's how good this was for Terrion. Like, if there is a guy to be hype about outside of Aiden Hutchinson, it's probably him through these first few days. Everything we've read, now twice seeing him in person, this is probably the guy that deserves to get a lot of hype. Getting into 11-on-11s, though, this is what I'm talking about, all right? Aiden Hutchinson is, and this is full field 11-on-11, so we're just kind of repping through plays here. This is Aiden Hutchinson just dominant. Like, the first time the first team got out there, this was one of the most dominant stretches I've seen. And I'm looking back at my notes, I'm like, yo, I didn't know it was that bad. Very first play, beats Dan Skipper. He lines up at left tackle. I think he's usually playing towards the strength. So he lines up at left tackle, beats Dan Skipper, gets a sack. First play. Okay, that's Aiden Hutchinson. I remember that in training camp. The very next play is a short run. So now we're into the third play. And I did note some of these guys blocking. If you saw me on X, I said Zach Corton was a dog today. He was. He got into it with Derek Barnes after taking him to the ground. That was fun. They used Shane Zylstra as a fullback as well. So both those guys can get reps there. Sam Laporta had a good block in the run game on the line of scrimmage, ended up creating a little bit of a crease. Then we go back to a pass play. Hutchinson creates pressure. They end up blowing the play dead, assuming it probably would have been a sack. I don't think that one was as fast. It wasn't as clear of a sack, but ultimately the play kind of blown dead. He got pressure off the edge. I think Goff stepped up into some pressure, but it didn't seem like there was a ton on the interior. It was just kind of like he was stepping to nowhere. Didn't really have anybody downfield, so it all kind of came together. That was a good example of coverage and pass rush, but it blew dead, and Hutch got in there first. And then to wrap up the drill, they end up going to the outside to the right, and Hutchinson gets the run stop. So it was like, okay, that was pretty dominant. And I believe he was working against Sewell on that one. Like that first series was nasty. Okay, let's continue though. Then we go to Kyle Allen, and I'm becoming a really big Kyle Allen fan. I like watching this dude play. Kyle Allen is he looks good. Like he looks Jimmy good. He's got real athleticism, at least to the point where he knows how to use it and when to use it. He's taking off. He's successful when he scrambles. Hendon Hooker has real competition this year for the number 2 role. Like, I assume he'll get it, but Kyle Allen has not given him that to this point. They continue to rotate. Today was Kyle Allen second with the second team. First off, we start with the lead. Some of these, again, I couldn't pick up on who it was because today they went opposite. So the O-line was a little bit difficult to exactly figure out who was who. Like, unless it was clear and obvious or it was a tackle, it was difficult on the interior. So I'll give some notes there, but it was a little bit difficult. But we get to the second unit here. They go to a lead run play. That one's blown up. So they used a lot of that, a lot of fullback, a lot of lead, get right behind him on his own run, right? Just kind of follow that lead block through. That first play was blown up. And then we had Isaac Tesla, who created a really big play, got over the middle of the field, just kind of a deep crosser, Boodle chasing him. It actually was contested pretty well from what I remember. He didn't get, cooked, but he ends up making the big play over the middle of the field. And I think right now, that route tree doesn't seem incredibly expansive right now. It seems pretty limited in terms of what's actually connecting for him. But those routes are effective because he's just a big body that's pulling it down in these spots. He did have one now that I'm remembering in those one-on-one drills that was contested. I don't see that's the problem. I couldn't exactly tell what I had written down there, but I know that it was it had a chance. It was just contested, and he didn't pull it down through the traffic. But he ends up pulling that one down. Then they go to a lead run. This was a great block. I don't know who he connected with, but he connected with one of the linebackers, one of the off-ball linebackers right through the middle. Horton did. And I'm watching the rep, and I was just watching Horton. And this car that goes for about 7 yards. I'm watching him just drive the linebacker all the way back. Like he took him back to where the play ended. He was creating all of the movement. You can see him just driving his dude backwards. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he's still going. It was one of the most fun reps to watch. Horton was just dominant on that one. Then he came back and did it again. We'll get to that one. But that one, he just took his dude for a ride against the second team the first time around. And again, he's repping second team fullback. Third team fullback is Zylstra, but Zylstra is also doing a lot more work in the pass game with the higher team. So it's a little bit different, but you can see where Horton's role would fill out. It's pretty clear, if he's making this team special team / fullback, that seems to be pretty clear of what they would use for him. They did a little pin pull play that ended up popping for a big run. And then I had Pat O'Connor with the run stop off the edge there. Pat O'Connor had some plays that I ended up having him in here for. So Pat O'Connor brought some juice today. Okay, we move on from there. Now we get Hendon Hooker. It starts off, and they do this with Hendon Hooker way more than any of the other quarterbacks. The boot action, flushing him out of the pocket, rolling him out of the pocket, design, get him on the move. They do that much more. Allen can move. Goff, he can. I guess he can move, but they don't really do as much seemingly design as they do with Hendon Hooker. So they immediately start off by booting him out. It worked really well. Trevor was on the ball. He was in that Sam spot, I believe. He didn't pick it up that well because Kenny Yeboah was wide open in the flat, and Kenny Yeboah is not that fast. But he ends up picking up a nice little chunk because clearly the misdirection just pulled him in way too far. So that's an area that needs work. It's a good time to get that work. It's something that does need to get better for Trevor Nowaski, and I think that's what it was, kind of a work in progress last year for him as well. He was tough, but that's kind of going to be a work in progress. Jabari Small ends up popping a run. I thought this was really good vision. Kind of pressed the line of scrimmage, bounced outside, picked up a nice run. Jabari Small popping a little bit. He's doing a little bit of work as these Kai Robichaud and Jabari Small both look pretty good. And Jabari Small ends up popping a nice little run here. This one was fully visioned to me. We get back to the first team, and this is where we get a cutback run by Jahmyr Gibbs. He ends up running right into Marcus Davenport. Then we get, and again, Hutchinson I think he was playing mainly just on the weak side. They kind of go to a halfback flip play. So this one was cool. This is really good misdirection. You get that quick flip out to one side, gets Gibbs out in space, gets him out quickly. I don't think this one was a massive gain, pretty short gain, but it did get around Marcus Davenport. It got around the edge, so the play was successful from what it was trying to do. I just don't think ultimately it was that big of a gain, but the play did work. First note that I had for Tyleik Williams. Tyleik Williams, who is, I haven't noted him as much in terms of pressure, and I think some of that is view, like not being able to tell. But also as a run defender, I started to notice him, and this was the first play that really popped. They did a toss play his direction. He ends up taking his man into the backfield, and the play ends up getting shut down by Aiden Hutchinson. They ran his way, but Tyleik Williams had his dude in the backfield. I think it threw off the timing of the run completely. To toss it outside and have a dude in your lap pretty quickly, that's what happened with Tyleik Williams. That was really one of the first plays I've noticed of him. That was a good note there. An RPO bubble, and again, this is first team offense, right? We're in an RPO bubble to the slot receiver. These are very quick hitters, right? We're talking about a halfback flip, a toss play. Clearly, today was a lot of getting things outside, or this could be just a lot of what they are, horizontal plays, using speed and space, because you're getting his toss plays, you're getting an RPO bubble play into the slot, and I think they threw it to Tim Patrick. That could be wrong. That might definitely be wrong, but it was an RPO bubble play. And then ultimately, here was the play that stood out. This was the one that when I saw this, I was like, oh, snap. Oh, snap. That was crazy. I love Derek Barnes. He's a dog. But, man, Zach Horton with the battle with him. All right, I would say Zach Horton won this battle because Barnes did not make the tackle. Horton took dude to the ground. Like, now he wasn't driving Derek Barnes back, and, maybe Barnes thought he was holding him. But regardless, I love the battle. I mean, he was battling with dude at the line, picks him up immediately. He doesn't make the stop, and he takes him to the ground. They both go to the ground. Barnes was a little bit fired up afterwards. No, real fight or anything, but there was some heat there, and it started with Zach Horton. Man, I gotta believe the Lions are loving that, dude. I gotta believe they're loving that. So a couple of good ones there for him. We get Allen back out there to go to like a dual run. Zach Cunningham steps in, makes the stop. Grant Stewart blows up a toss play, as mentioned earlier. He blows it up, gets outside. He's fired up, dude. You can tell who that guy is just by his hair. He's a little bit shorter too. Blows up a run towards the outside. He's made a couple of those very physical plays. And then I had Tyleik Williams again with a good note. They kind of went to like an outside zone, it looked like. And while he didn't make the stop, you could see what he was good at in college translate on this play. It's harder with the trenches, but like he's a very powerful upper body piece. And he's a guy that can create that separation. And he just created a lockout, walking laterally. He's not the best lateral mover to me, but he was just pushed his guy backwards, controlled the block, and walked with it and stayed with the flow of the play. That was pretty cool because it was forced and continued to bounce outside. And there was no cut-up lane for him. He got pushed well outside on that play. So 2 notes there from Tyleik Williams. I didn't see Gruden today, so if he was there, I just didn't see him. That's very possible, though, because I only was in one spot. If you guys want to see, this is where – oh, shoot. Okay. This is where I was at. I was supposed to be throwing these up, but this is where I was at during practice the whole time. So, yeah, if he was there, I just didn't see him. And that's very possible that he was there. But you can see they practiced on the opposite side, so it was a little bit difficult to sometimes it was difficult to pick up on like who was doing what in terms of the trenches there. Okay, continuing on, I had Tyson Russell again with a pass breakup on Isaac Tesla. Now this one, I thought he had a step. He ran like a deep post, and it looked like he had him beat. Maybe the angle was a little bit off, but you could see that Tyson Russell got back into play, recovered, high pointing it from behind, ends up breaking it up. I thought he had a step. I thought the ball was just too high. I thought that the ball was just not flat enough, honestly. It kind of allowed him to get back into the play, or maybe it was just thrown a little bit late. Regardless, though, it allowed Russell back into the play. He ends up breaking it up from behind. And then we had Ahmed. So first note here for Ahmed, and this was the same as yesterday. Ahmed ended up just setting the edge, and you could see him afterwards. Like, I don't know if he was giving the Mutombo. I don't know what he was doing. But he was like, that's on me, setting the edge. Blows his man up into the backfield, sets the edge, kind of runs right into him, and nothing there. I don't think he actually made the stop, but he created it. And then Hendon Hooker came back out third team, and Chris Smith with the pressure. That was the only thing that caught my eye. It was very quick. I'm like, who is that? Chris Smith? Chris Smith adding that to his bag? Hey, that would make you tough, Chris. Chris Smith knows he needs to add something to his bag this year. But the Lions liked him last year. About 10 snaps a game, they liked him last year. Add something to it, and it seems like maybe a little bit of juice. He didn't really have much juice last year outside of like seemingly effort wins, but this one was pretty quick. He quickly got an edge, got upfield, and created a little bit of pressure that ended up kind of shutting this one down for a play-action play. Now we move on. Let's go to the red zone 7-on-7 drills. This is where we're at now. So, again, we're kind of working inside the 20, different, kind of marks inside the 20, but these are all red zone looks here. Dang, they got to hook you up with some sideline. That's what I'm saying, man. I thought it was going to happen this year. There was some contact that just didn't end up happening. It is what it is. You know what I mean? As long as I got tickets, I'm good. But sometimes that's hard to get to. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I don't know, man. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, let's continue. 7-on-7s from the red zone. Let's get right into it. So, first off, we had St. Brown really late. He was in the back of the end zone, kind of like ran a deep in breaker. This one was really late. The ball came out. This was covered up seemingly pretty well. He ended up making the grab, but you kind of watching like, I don't know if he would have that much time. If he does, though, he did separate late. It was just really late. Then they kind of ran a wheel route towards the front pylon on the left side, and you could see Goff kind of threw it like down and away. I think he threw it too far down. Throwing it away made sense because the linebacker was on the inside running over top, but he also threw it down. I don't know if he thought the linebacker was coming over top. He just missed the throw, and it fell incomplete, trying to hit Gibbs on that. I haven't seen as much of the Gibbs at like receiver kind of thing. I've definitely seen them like getting the ball quickly, so the RPO bubbles to a running back would be fun. But I have seen that they are working plenty of like wheel routes, and they're working him up vertically and taking some shot plays to him. This one was incomplete though. Then I had an incomplete pass to Tim Patrick with Rock Ya-Sin in coverage once again here. Again, Rock Ya-Sin was doing his thing today. A mesh. They ran like a mesh. See, the thing is with the red zone, they are pretty creative in what they're doing offensively. I wouldn't say it's all connected that well, but I also would give some of that credit to the defense because seemingly defensively, they are picking up assignments really cleanly right now. Like they are doing a really nice job as a group. You can see it in zone coverage. A lot of these crossers and things like that, they're covered up pretty well. Their communication's strong. They were doing this in individual drills, so or I should say, yeah, positional drills. They were doing it in there, so it makes some sense that they're prepared for it. But they were handling those pretty well. This first time though, they ran like a mesh. It ends up scoring a touchdown to Tim Patrick. They end up hitting like Sam Laporte. This was a cool play. So they ran like a screen flat or like a pick play. So they end up having everybody create a wall, flipped it out to Sam Laporta, and he basically just ran a flat route and got upfield. And he kind of just like walked his way into the end zone. But it was basically like a pick play, but it was also a screen. He just doesn't catch it until they don't block until he catches it because of how the routes ran. Everybody just kind of pushes upfield and stops. Play's kind of creative. It makes it an easy pass. Gets to walk upfield, and he ended up scoring on that. We had Sam Laporta, probably the best throw of the drill, I thought, from the first team from Goff. He hit like a skinny post through the slot, it looked like, right past the linebacker, ripped it in there. That was a touchdown. That was a nice ball. So you can see the offense kind of settled in a little bit here. They covered up the traffic the Lions were trying to create. All these crossers covered it up really well defensively. That play ended up just going nowhere. And then they had Tom Kennedy. They ran like another traffic play where they kind of cleared out, flipping underneath to Tom Kennedy. Tom Kennedy ends up catching that, but it's a very short gain. And then they end up throwing an interception. This was an interception, I believe, to Mo Norris to kind of end it. Or was that an interception? I feel like that was incomplete. Maybe it was an interception though. I think it was an interception. It was an interception to Mo Norris, but you could see that very late on the play. I think the back end zone receiver, I think it was St. Brown, he got open. It was just very, very late. It was covered up really well. That one may not have been picked. I feel like that one may have been just like a very late play, but I wrote down interception, so I'll just take my word for it. Maybe it was, but a lot of these plays are kind of coming together here. But ultimately, he did have someone really late open. There was just nothing early there. So they're doing a really nice job. Maybe it's just the Lions are trying to practice that against them as well. It's like, yo, give us these looks. Give us these crossers, make us communicate, make us pass these things off. It feels like the Lions are playing a really strong amount of zone coverage in red zone spots, which can be effective, but you have to communicate, right? Or even in man coverage, you have to communicate. So it seems like that's been a real key for them. Is like we don't want to have these blunders down there, and they're working on that a lot, seemingly, and the offense is pushing them for that. We keep moving, though. Let's go to Zach Allen, because now Zach Allen group gets out there before we get to the 11-on-11s working in the red zone. Then we get to the last situational drill, which there's like 2 minutes and something here. We start with Allen first, and he threw a great ball. It was like a fade, front of the end zone, back shoulder, hits Jackson Meek. He pulls it down. Jackson Meeks was super productive today. As mentioned earlier, like this one's on Boodle. Super productive, a lot of contested grabs, finishing in tough situations. Saturday, I see him make that nasty one-handed grab. Today, a lot of contested grabs. He finished a ton through these drills. He probably put maybe the most points on the board of anybody, Jackson Meeks did, as we kind of worked through this. Again, we ran crossers across the field. It was covered really well. That play fell incomplete. Now, this one was Hendon Hooker's first, time on the field. So immediately we get Meeks a touchdown. Hendon Hooker gets out there, first play, there's nothing there. It's incomplete. I think he just kind of threw it like at like an underneath receiver or something. It was incomplete. There's nothing there. But the very next play, Hendon Hooker did kind of bounce back. They immediately had a flat, so he got it out, got the ball quickly, read it quickly, walked into the end zone. So that was a good read there. And they kind of wrapped the drill. They didn't wrap it up there. But this next one caught my eye because, again, Tyson Russell. So usually you just see the guy that actually catches the ball and like who's defending him. This time I was trying to really scan who else was on the field, and it was Tyson Russell who was matched up with Lovett. Lovett ran like a whip right underneath. Tyson Russell was all over him. There was no separation at all. They ended up going elsewhere with the football, but that was beautiful coverage by Russell. He had a really strong day, and they ended up throwing it to Meeks, and Meeks made a great catch. And Yeah, they ended up scoring a touchdown there. But this was really good coverage from my man Tyson Russell. Had a really strong day today. Helped himself out. That's done to the free agent out of Vandy that we ended up signing pretty recently here. Okay, so that ended that drill. That moves us on to the 11 on 11s red zone drills. We're almost done here, but let's jump into these because I don't know. I'd say the defense definitely won. Well, we'll get to that. Let's go to the red zone first. So first off, first play, touchdown. I don't know if they was just because it got to the right call or what it was, but it was sealed off on the backside. Gibbs just walked into the end zone. The setup was really nice here. I think they had a post-snap kind of pulling blocker. It ended up just walking into the end zone. Gibbs just popped it off the left tackle, walked into the end zone. But then it was St. Brown on Terrion Arnold, and this is another one where this battle was great. This was like a play action, but this was like the Lions' classic red zone play. Like we all know this one. The front side play action. He never turns his back. You get St. Brown isolated, and he runs it, and he just snaps off a quick outbreaking route towards the front pylon. We run that all the time. It's exactly what that was. It was easy. Scored a touchdown. Looked like he had 2 yards of separation on Terrion. As good as the battles were, this one just looked too easy. He just walked into the end zone, and we've seen them do that all the time, which was cool because you think new OC, like all this new stuff it's going to be. But there's plenty of things in there that remind you of like, oh yeah, that looks like the Lions. Like from their checks at the line of scrimmage where they start one way, they break into something else. Like I saw Hooker do it, right? Hooker comes out, spread offense, 4 receivers, and then he checks at the line, everybody sets in, single back, and it's like, now let's run a play action shot. And that kind of thing just reminds you of the Lions offense. But this play specifically is, I know, something they ran last year, and they've been running for a while with St. Brown. It's very simple. They want to get one-on-ones. That was a great one-on-one play for them, and it worked. It walked them into the end zone there. Let's keep going, though. Jameson Williams, incomplete. He was contested on a deep crossing route. They end up running then a lead play to David Montgomery. He scores a touchdown, an outside zone, and this was the one where Terrion came up, kind of like injured, it looked like, but I think he was okay. I was a little bit concerned, but I think he was okay ultimately because he gives up the outside zone. He steps down to make the tackle, and I don't think he actually touched anybody. It just looked like maybe he settled in kind of weird because the very next play, they were closer to the end zone, and it was probably at the 3-yard line, and they ran like some sort of just crossers with the tight ends, like 2 tight ends across the field, and I don't even know if he ran. I don't know if it was a communication breakdown or he just didn't run, but like it didn't look like he was really moving, and his guy was wide open on the outside. Talking an easy touchdown, he was off to the side after that, kind of on his knee, but I think he came back in, so I think he was fine after that. But that moment looked concerning, but I think he's okay. Second team came in, it was ugly at start. The first play, he muffed a snap. They ended up handing it to Craig. It actually worked okay. The next play, the run was stuffed. I believe it was Pat O'Connor that stuffed it. Could be off on that one, but I believe that's what that was. And then Al-Quadin Muhammad started to kind of show himself. It was like, okay, Muhammad's doing some work. So very first play here, we get a scramble. Now, again, Kyle Allen looks good. Had pressure, felt it, scores a touchdown. It's like, all right. He steps up, he scrambled, he walked it into the end zone. And this was not from like the 2, this is probably about the 10-yard line, 10 plus. But Al-Quadin Muhammad created the pressure, spilled him out of the pocket. So second, I had a couple of notes on the first time, had a couple here today as well, which I like to see that consistency. They tried after that touchdown because, again, they scored. They ended up having a run that got stuffed. And then the very next play, you got penetration from Muhammad once again, and that run got stopped. So a couple of good plays there from Muhammad. When the third team got out there with Hendon Hooker, they tried to run like a screen pass, but it wasn't as concerning that he threw the ball incomplete, and it was like a missed throw. It was weird. I don't know what it was. To Craig, it was messy. It was more concerning the alignment. Now, this definitely could have been on Lovett because he's a rookie, and he's trying to figure it out. But they get lined up, and you see them motion 2 players. Well, 2 players are moving before the snap. And then Lovett's in the inside slot. He's number 3 receiver. And Hooker looks like he signals to move him over. And he starts moving. And then Hooker's like, no, don't do that. Go back. And so it looked like it was on Hooker. Like Hooker was a little bit confused. There was just confusion across the board here. Then they ran a screen. It was incomplete. The thing was messy. It was just messy across the board there. But that was just the one play that I noted of that. But I think it's worth mentioning how messy that was. Shane Zylstra then caught like a flat route for a couple of yards, maybe about 4. Great grab inside. It's probably a missed throw. He threw it back to the inside, not the sideline. But he made like a one-handed juggling grab. Made a couple yards out of it. Made something out of nothing there, finishing. And then Shane Zylstra ultimately, yeah, that was the one. That was the one-handed grab. Sorry, I don't want to read that one again. Okay, so that then moves us to a delayed inside run, and then Hendon Hooker capped off his drill with the touchdown. So both of these guys, I guess, ran it in. They had like a delayed inside handoff. That one, I think, walked into the end zone. They had a good push. And then from like the 2 or 3 yard line, they did another rollout for Hooker. And instead of throwing it, he just took off. Right? It's covered up. He just took off, scored a touchdown. It was pretty easy. So he's comfortable there, clearly. But you're trying to dial everything else in for him. Yeah, Shane's good. Like, Shane, looks clearly as number 3. I think Yeboah had some good moments today, but he's looked like he's really separated himself as tight end 3 to this point. Like I would say that I feel pretty comfortable in that. It's just Horton plays fullback now, and Shane is too. So do they feel comfortable with that? But I don't know if both can make the team. Maybe they can. Getting on then to the final situational drill here, and this was I think it was about 2:40 on the clock. They were down by 4, and the first team offense. I didn't even know they were doing this timed, so I don't have the time for the first team. It could have been different, but at least the second team was that. This was not great by the first team, and it was a lot of havoc that was caused here. The first play, they kind of took a shot play to Gibbs. Ran him on a deep wheel. Goff took a shot, missed it in front of him. It was deep, and he had a step. It was on Alex Hinsley chasing him. I love the matchup. I love that they're doing that stuff. I like more in breakers with him because I think that the linebackers can't stick with him, so I don't need to run him deep. Just give him anything underneath. But they try to take a shot. That one was incomplete for him to get things started. But it was the matchup that you want, so you take that shot. That's fine. And I feel like we've repped that a lot in the past, but not that far. We've typically thrown wheels to our backs, but usually it's like 10, 15 yards. This thing was probably 25, 30 yards downfield. Like, this was a real shot. We usually don't throw it that far to our back, so that one just felt like something that might just take a little time to dial it in. Plus, he's not the biggest target, so that's a tight window. That's a really tight window down the sideline. That's how it started. Then they ended up having pressure in his face, Goff kind of backpedaling, flipped it out, got a little hitch off. And again, this was be Reader and Tyleik. Got the hitch out to St. Brown, picked up a medium gain. Very next play, Hutchinson blows it up. Cooks Penei Sewell on the right side. Just cooked him. Got an inside win. Throws it to St. Brown. It's incomplete. But this thing was all Aiden Hutchinson. So again, third down. Hutchinson comes through, gets pressure. This dude looks outstanding right now. Khalif then ends up, I think he caught like a little, no, it was incomplete. It was incomplete. Again, just kind of like a little snag run underneath. Incomplete pass there. Tyleik had pressure on this play. So that's the third note that I have for Tyleik. Someone asked about Tyleik. So I had him with a pressure there, had him with 2 plays I've noted against the run. That would be the first one that I know. And that's not to say he hasn't been doing more as pass rusher, just I can't always tell. That one I could tell Tyleik was in the backfield because I remember somebody asked me a question and we were talking about the O-line or something. And it was like, oh, Tyleik was back there on that one. Tyleik got back there quick, kind of dropped in his lap. So I know the first play was inside pressure because Goff, the first completion, the second down, Goff was backpedaling. This play was Tyleik, so it could have been in both times. But this time, there was clearly pressure. Kind of flipped it out to Khalif late. It was incomplete. Then they ended up trying to go deep to Jamison Williams. Rocky Sin was in coverage. I think he had a step on him, but it looks like he may have tugged him a little bit as he was getting away from him, which is a problem. Fell incomplete again, but there's no flags here, so I don't know on that one completely. But they tried to take a shot. He had a little bit of a step. It wasn't terrible. It was just incomplete over top. That one just thrown too deep there. And then they brought Brian Branch, I think from the slot, may have been a safety alignment. Brought him right through. I believe it was like the B gap. He just walked in clear. Nobody picked him up on the left side. Again, that's Dan Skipper. That would be Mahogany. Nobody picked him up. He walked through clear. He would have had a sack on Jared Goff. That was just clean. He just cleanly walked through that. That's not great. And that's, I believe, how the first team kind of wrapped up there. Like, it was not great through the situational drill. Shane Zylstra had a couple of plays underneath, but that was pretty much it, right? Derek Barnes ended up bringing him down on one of them, but that was pretty much it. Going to the second team, and the second team found a little bit more success. Tom Kennedy got things started with an in-breaker, picked up a first down. That's just Tom Kennedy in team drills. He just always shows up seemingly in those spots. Tim Patrick ended up having an incomplete shot that they tried to take. Continuing from there, we had a run stuff from Eric Hallett. So, again, there was, like, good time. So, if, like, you were moving the ball well, you were going to be fine here. They tried to run it. I believe this would have been like a second down then, and Eric Hallett stuffed it. So now, yeah, it would have been a loss of 1. He stuffs it. Now it's 3rd and 11, and on 3rd and 11, they get bailed. I don't want to say bailed out. It was a great play. I think Tesla ran a deep in-breaker, not covered poorly. He just pulls it down anyways in traffic on Tyson Russell again. The battle was there, and he picks up a massive first down. So clutch, because it would have been a horrible 2-team sequence if that's how the first 2 drives ended. That was a clutch play, kept it alive. And they ultimately ended up finishing it because of that. Now, I did have a sack the very next play by Zach Cunningham. I believe he was just brought on a blitz there. He ends up picking up a sack for me the next play. And then the play that really kind of got him back to, getting the ball rolling a little bit was to hit David Montgomery underneath. I don't think it was David. Like, a large part of me does not think Dave Montgomery was out there with this team. But maybe he was. The dude looked small. I don't know. Regardless, I think he was wearing 5. So David caught it, just a little check underneath. Made a great cut, bounced outside, got a block, and he picked up a massive gain. I mean, he took them down there to scoring distance. It was a massive gain. That got them back to rolling, and the guy that finished it up would have been Tom Kennedy. Tom Kennedy, again, ran like a deep out route on the sideline. This, again, was on – I believe this was also on Tyson Russell. Let me double check. I think that's also on Tyson Russell if I have it right. Could be wrong, but I believe that was also on Tyson. Yeah, and he runs just a deep out route, catches it like right in the sideline of the end zone, toe tap, right in the front, right past the front pylon, scores a touchdown, and that's how the first team walked it off. And they did that with 3 seconds. Again, they needed a touchdown, so with 3 seconds they capped it off. So up and down a little bit from Tyson Russell, but very noticeable in a lot of plays, and that's a big positive. And he's repping some good reps with the second team. Rocky Sin, I think, also had a strong day. Again, not perfect, but I think he had a strong day in there as well. Hallett continues to be impactful against the run. I feel like the interior defense line's doing a good job. I just can't always tell who's doing it. But today, I definitely had some good notes. 3 good notes there from Tyleik. They seem to be doing a solid job. I love the idea of Horton as a fullback. That dude looks like, I don't know if he's going to be able to make the team like that, but he's going to stick around in some way if they can. Like, there's no doubt. It looked weird. Like, he didn't look, and now, fair enough, they were far. Like, this same thing happened to me with Tate Ratledge. I'm looking at him like, is that Tristan Colon? Like, he didn't look tall from being 2 fields over. And in this case, they were 2 fields over and on the opposite side, going the wrong way. So from my viewpoint, he didn't look that big. Like, he looked kind of skinny. You know, Monty's a built dude. This dude looked kind of small, but he was wearing 5. He had no sleeves, nothing like that. So it must have been Monty. But and he was with the second team. So all of it kind of threw me off. I was like, why would Monty be out there? It does make some sense, though. Second team's not crazy. But I think it was, he just didn't look as big, but that could have just been perception because of where I was at. Like I said, seeing Tate Ratledge, who was also repping right guard again, seeing him, he didn't look big until he worked over to our field, and I was like, oh, okay, no, that looks normal. Like, at first I'm like, he looks kind of little, and then I saw him again, like, oh, no, okay, no, that looks like, that's a big dude. That's a tall dude. So that's what I mean by that. Tyleik's value stepping, yeah, it's going to be big, and his run defense feels like where it's going to make the impact. Ahmed, I haven't noticed much as a pass rusher. You'll probably note more as you see more. But that said, run defense is clearly noticeable. Like, there's no doubt that he's pushing guys backwards. So as long as the discipline is there, he's putting guys into the backfield. So there is positives there that's translating as of now to the NFL, and that's kind of really all I expect. I mean, if we get some good things out of pass rush, that's a plus. Anything outside of that, though, like, I just want him to stop the run. I want him to blow guys up because that's what he was. We'll work on the rest of it. And maybe Monty is losing some weight because Monty's shaking everybody. Like, in fairness, dude was shaking Jack Campbell both times, like nasty. Maybe the dude did slim down a little bit. Maybe he's like, yo, everybody's hyping up Gibbs. I want to be able to shake a little bit more. It's not to say he can't. Maybe he did. He's like, I want to be real elusive this year. I'm going to dial that in. Maybe he cut a little bit. I mean, this was a nice run after the catch. He's a great pass catcher, but he got whipped around a block and he took off. And it was like, oh, snap. Like, it surprised me. So if that's Monty, which I do believe it was, maybe he's not slimmer. Maybe he's just looking very elusive right now. Maybe that's what it is. He just looks – it looked like a pass-catching running back. Like, it's someone you would assume is that, not Monty. And he looked really good. So I guess that's the definition of, like, hey, the dude is looking light. He's looking lean. He's looking elusive is when you mistake him for somebody else. Like, that can't be David. That can't be David. But that's what it looked like. So I guess he's just in a good spot right now. Where do you see Gibbs being most effective wide receiver would be new. We've seen screens before. So I haven't seen him a ton as a receiver here. I feel like what we did last year was in a pretty good spot for Gibbs. Occasionally, I always like the little angle routes from the slot. I love the option routes. Those didn't always connect, though. Like, the timing just always felt off there, like who's doing what. Those always felt a little hit and miss. But I definitely think the wheel routes, like when you think about what we would do at times with, like, Tim Patrick or Saint, where we could just run, like, a curl, like a snag, and then we could whip him around it, and he could run the sideline, something like that, where it's deeper than just, like, a wheel route from the backfield, but we can actually go, like, 30 yards and get over top. And if we can do that specifically with a linebacker on him. Now, if it's in zone coverage, that's a spot where they're not going to put him there. So maybe the Lions would just look at that and be like, yeah, we don't want that. But say they put him in a slot and they could get a linebacker or even a safety just to declare, like, I have this guy. Now you know it's man. Now you can set that route up. Now you can take the shot for it. So it does open the opportunity to take shots. I haven't seen, like, any slants or anything like that ran for him. But I definitely think, like, the mid screens, you know, you could put him in a slot. You could run it back into a tunnel screen. Things like that could definitely be on the table. Sorry if I missed it. My impression on Tyleik. This is the best day. I mean, I've only been there 2 days, and today was about. I mean, he doesn't look dominant, but he looked good today. Like, every time I saw him against the run, he was in the backfield, and he got a little bit of juice as a rusher. Kind of what I expected, but he looked good today. Definitely way better. I didn't notice him, like, at all Saturday, but I noticed him today, and I was on the wrong side of the field, and I noticed him. His thing is he looks long because he locks guys out, he creates separation, and he's powerful as heck in the upper body. He doesn't look overly shifty, but I didn't think he was overly shifty in college. He's just kind of a wall, you know, to be honest with you. So I thought it looked good. Like, nothing crazy, but I thought it looked good. Make sure I don't miss any other comments, then we'll keep it moving. If we don't keep Hooker, I think it goes to Jets with Glenn. Yeah, man. Like, As of now, I think they'll keep him. Like, it's not like he's playing horrendous or something. Like, he's doing fine. It's just they run the offense a little different with him, and I think Kyle Allen looks good. Like, Kyle Allen looks really good, and it's more of that than anything. I think Kyle looks like a NFL quarterback, dude. Like, that guy, if he was our backup, I'd be very comfortable with it. It's just the fact that we have him, and so as of now, I'm starting to lean towards we keep 3 quarterbacks. If I had to guess right now, we're cutting somewhere else because we got to keep all 3 of these dudes. That's where I would think right now, just based on how he's playing, not as much as how the other guys are. Do you think Brad's going to make a move by the start of the season between Judon and Kaiser White and Za'Darius? Um, I, to me, Davenport's played very well to this point. He's been noticeable, so I don't think it's necessary. The D line looks good. They're creating pressure. Like I said, they kind of blew up these 11-on-11s. So to what they have now, I think they have to feel good about their starters. I would be surprised on Kaiser. I think their linebackers are in a pretty good spot. I think Grant Stewart's popped a lot. Zach looks solid. Judon, I heard they have interest in Judon. It's just weird because I don't know. Like, I don't know when you jump on that. Unless your whole mindset is like situational rusher, because I don't know that you jump on that to make him a backup. Because right now he wouldn't start for me. There's no shot he would start right now for the defense front. So he'd be a rotational, like third down kind of piece is what I use, man. Or I'm just trying to, or if you're simply trying to take reps away from Davenport, and you're like, hey, when the season starts, because Josh may not be here, we want someone that can alternate drives. Now with Judon or Za'Darius, like one of those two, and they could lean Judon because of the physicality against the run. And this could, to me, it would be more so of a move of not as much like we don't like what we have, but more so just trying to be smart with Davenport, and he would legitimately be mixing in first team reps. Because to me, Alquad Inns looked fine. He's looked like a plus, so far through training camp. Nothing elite, but he's looked like a plus piece. And Ahmed's definitely going to play the run. I just don't know that he brings them enough juice right now where they're comfortable with he's going to give them much pass rush. I feel like he's flashing a lot, but he doesn't feel consistently dominant. But also at the same time, it's been hard to tell. So I feel like it'd be more of a move because of Josh Paschal, and they're just not as comfortable like when he's going to be back, and that's why they would sign him. That would be my guess. But in terms of how they perform so far, I don't think it would be necessary. So I don't know. Yeah, I would lean Za'Darius for the rush ability, and then I could use him as a situational rusher, because to me that would make sense to look at it as unless they want a guy that can interior rush, because then they could look at Judon, right? Keith Cooper said that. I haven't really noticed him doing much on the interior. Chris Smith gave a little bit, but like on third down, who are they putting in the inside to rush? They might really want somebody that can help them there. That could be Za'Darius. He did that with Cleveland. I'm pretty sure Matthew used to do that a lot with New England. So both those guys are comfortable doing that. I would say if they were looking for that, now that's something that they could use, because I don't really know who that would be right now. I don't know if there's like a lead candidate for that. You could do it with Ahmed. I just don't know how many great results it's gonna be fine. I think you might do a little bit, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough. So if you just wanted more juice on like, hey, when it's 3rd and 8, we want somebody to throw in there, situational rusher style that can be comfortable on the interior. That is something that I think is pretty open right now. Like, I don't think someone's claimed that spot, at least as of where we're at health wise. When we're healthy, we'll have those guys, but I don't know if we have that right now. Not clearly right now. Like I wouldn't put Muhammad on the interior. Hutchinson they can, but they like him on the outside. Davenport they could, but like then who else? Like, so it's one of those things. Or that spot is open. So I don't know, but that if they did, maybe that's what their intention would be. Because the front 4 looks good. It's just you'd be looking at it situationally. We could use a little more juice. Yeah, Muhammad. And look, um, Muhammad has to be right because there isn't really a backup DN now. Yeah, Ahmed's been working with 3rd team from what I've been able to tell. Pat O'Connor's done some good. He's flashed. I don't think he's been again dominant either, but he's flashed more against the run to me, which is a positive. He's done that more. We don't really have a second team like clear cut D end, I think, right now. Like Ahmed's to me not there yet. And then without Paschal, like I don't know if there's definitely a lead dog for that. To me, that would be Muhammad. And Muhammad made some good play. Like Muhammad's definitely put himself in a good spot, I think, so far to make the team. I feel comfortable he's going to make the team right now. That I feel comfortable with that. I want Hutch next to Barnes to rush to Sam. Yeah, so they don't do that very often because of how that alignment works. Like if they put him on the ball, that'd be towards the strength of the formation typically. So usually they're putting Hutch on the weak side. But occasionally you might get that. It would just kick Hutch a little bit further inside. Occasionally you might get that. They just don't tend to do that a ton. Where's Miles Adams? So I noticed Miles Adams. I didn't see him today, actually. That's a good question. I didn't see him today. I noticed him Saturday. I didn't see him today. I don't know if he was even out there today, to be honest. One thing I want to check real quick before we get out of here, 76. Who in the world was 76? Was that Broderick Martin? Broderick Martin made a play today. If that was Broderick Martin, 76 made a good run stop today. I just couldn't tell who it was. I was like, 76. Dude was big, though, so it had to be Broderick. Let me check. And then we'll wrap this thing up. Like, they definitely can rush Hutch from the inside. I think they like it more from the outside because they don't really have as much juice from the outside. They put Hutch on the interior. So it's an option, but I think they look at it as like, hey, 3rd and 8, if we put Hutch on the inside, what juice do we get from the outside? Like, who's actually consistently winning out there? I don't know that they buy into much of that. And I don't think Keith Cooper's proved it to me. Like, I don't think he proved it in college. So I think that's now he can in the preseason, but I wouldn't be comfortable with that right now. I wouldn't be comfortable expecting much from him on the interior. But it just hasn't. I just haven't seen it enough. And Roy's not that guy either. Like, ideally, Roy wouldn't be like a 3rd down piece. You could, but it wouldn't be ideal. 76. Raekwon Williams. Okay, Raekwon Williams made a big play today. Okay, shout to Raekwon. Hey, now Raekwon's been popping a little bit. He's been doing some work. That dude's massive, by the way. Oh my gosh, that guy is huge. Hutch was crazy. Yeah, if you're just joining, so all these segments from right to left are how we did in order. Go back to when we talked about the first 11 on 11. He destroyed the first drive. Sack, run stop. I mean, it was nasty. He destroyed it. Yeah, he looks outstanding. He looks incredible. With that, though, I'm going to leave it here, man. I appreciate y'all joining. Hey, if you are watching this live, man, we don't usually do this, but I got to ask, man. Click the like button because we're live. They don't do as well as videos. I may have to cut this and make it into a video. But if we get enough likes, then maybe I won't have to. So if y'all appreciate the live streams, man, let me know by clicking that button. I appreciate that. We usually don't ask for that, but I do appreciate it. Should be worried about Kirby not practicing? I have no idea, honestly. Now, Vontae's look fine. I've liked the Vontae out there, but I don't know. That's been a whole weird – I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know. He's not out there. DJ, I didn't see him either. You know, the whole DB room was kind of light today. Terrion looks awesome, and that's good. I'm hoping Rakestraw's right. Like, I feel less concerned about them because I know that if they're out there, they're going to be good. Rakestraw, I need to see grow. So I need Rakestraw to get reps. I need him to continue to practice. I can't have him in and out, shuffling around. Like, we need him consistently on the field. That's where that's at. J-Mo was a problem. I don't know if J-Mo was dominant today for me. Like, he ended up, having a couple that were incomplete, that were thrown his way. He had like a deep crosser that he caught today. He had a nice red zone drill or a nice like one-on-one reception. He was good. I don't know if he was dominant for me. I would say the dominant players, real quick before we end this, was clearly Hutchinson. I think that, like I said, I think Tyson Russell was a good player today. He got beat a couple times. He was good. Rocky Sin, I think Rocky Sin showed up today. Both those guys had opportunities. They did. I like those three. Who else was like massive standouts? I don't want to put Hallett there because I don't think it was enough. Shane Zylstra's pretty darn consistent, man. Kenny Yeboah had a good day. It wasn't a great day, but for his play style, it was actually a good day for him. Zach Horton. I would throw Zach Horton in there too. Zach Horton, because to me, Zach Horton could carve out a fullback role. So I put Shane, I put Zach Horton in there. Jackson Meeks. To me, the best receiver today was Jackson Meeks. He had like 4 touchdowns, it felt like. Everything was contested, but he finished. That dude put a lot of points on the board. Tesla was good. Tesla didn't win every rep. He had a couple that he lost, but he was good today. He made the key first down on 3rd and 11 in the situational drill for the second team. He just doesn't always separate that well. And the big thing was the worst rep I thought that he had, as good as that was, he had a pretty horrible rep one-on-one against Terrion to win the drill. Like, his release was disgusting. He just put his head down and ran into him. I don't know what the heck that was. Technically, it looked disgusting, but it's definitely a growing process. His route tree doesn't feel that deep, but the routes that they run him on, he's pretty effective. He's pretty effective because he typically pulls the ball down. Not always. Like, some of the one-on-one stuff is hit and miss, but he's pretty effective at pulling the ball down. You know what I mean? He's pretty effective at pulling the ball down in traffic, and he runs away from guys pretty well, too. I didn't notice Lovett as much today. Not as much. Not as much as Saturday. That was much more productive. Tom Kennedy's still good. I don't think. Anybody else? Tyleik. This was definitely a good day for Tyleik. Tyleik did more than flash. He made multiple plays today. Tyleik was good today. Tyleik was good. And I'll say Monty looks different, bro. Monty looks like, Monty looked different, bro. I'm just saying, he looked different. So yeah, Graham at center today. All right. Anyway, I gotta end this, man. I gotta go. I appreciate y'all joining. If y'all want more live streams, just let me know. Was Branch great today? Nah, I would say Branch was actually a down day because Branch's bar is set so high. Not to say he didn't have good reps. Like I said, he had PBU of the drill on St. Brown. He didn't even look at the ball and he knocked it away just playing his eyes. But he got beat a couple times. He got cooked twice by Sam Laporte on the one-on-one drills. Cooked twice. He did have a sack. His bar's too high for to me to say it was a good day for him. TK tough. TK tough. All right, we gonna get out of here, man. I appreciate y'all joining for one of our live streams. Let me know. And we may have to cut this. We may not. If it does well enough, we won't cut it. And that will tell me more live streams. So y'all let me know. But I gotta go, man. I appreciate you joining. Maybe we'll be back tonight. We'll see. If something drops, we'll do it. I'm out. Run it back. Right to